Hello everybody, we're back here at the bench with the gear case from the 1959 Evinrude Fast Twin 18. We're going to reassemble and reseal this gear case, get everything cleaned up, and we're going to put her back together. So let's get started. I've got the, so always start by putting the pinion gear back in the bushing. Don't want to get everything else together and not have the pinion gear in it. Don't ask me how I know that. So take the prop shaft, put the reverse gear on. We got the thrust washer, the bearing, and take the clutch dog. Like I said before, this clutch dog's not very good shape. I'm going to try to put the good side, there isn't one, but the better of the two, toward the forward gear. This side looks a little bit better than this side, I think. Really hard to tell. I don't know. We're going to try it. I may end up revisiting this one because this clutch dog's in bad shape, but hopefully it works okay and doesn't jump out of gear on me. Then we take the forward gear assembly with all the bearings and bushings and thrust washers and whatnot. Put that on this side. Take the bearing carrier. Put that back on. Still got nice tension on the seals, so I think our seals are going to be okay. I'm not going to replace those, especially since it's a good possibility I'm going to have to get back into this thing due to that clutch dog being in bad shape. So we're going to put it together with the old seals. The old seals look good. They feel like they got plenty of tension on them, so I'm going to go ahead with those. When you put this thing back together, there's these little pins in here to align everything. This one's been pushed part way down, but it's still sticking up enough to align with the slot. So I'm going to put a little bit of acetone on a little cotton rag here. And finish cleaning up with a couple of things. So we want to get as much oil off of this thing as we can so the sealer doesn't leak. So we'll wipe that down. Wipe all these surfaces down. And then I've got the skeg in the vise over here. Wipe this all down. Little piece of sealer from the last time this was sealed up. Alright, I think we are ready to go. Move you back over here to the gear case. I've used 3M847 for these, and I've also used High Tack, and I've used this stuff. So far I like this probably the best. It seems to be a little more forgiving than some of the other stuff. I've had better luck with getting these together without leaks with this than anything else that I've used so far. So I'm going to use this ultra black. I'm sure this is plugged and I gotta poke out the plugged part of it. I think we're opened up enough. Definitely always want to wear gloves with this stuff. It just gets everywhere. And it's pretty sticky. So I'm going to start by laying some in here. Right where the O-ring seats. I've got more in there than I need, but kind of spread it around. It's up toward the front of it, so it'll just squish out the front what I don't need. It won't not enough will get back in there to worry about it. So we want to align this keyway right here with this little pin, and then this hole with this pin. Alright, everything is lined up. Now I'm going to grab the spaghetti seal. I've got some cord stock this is part number 309044, and it is a roll of O-ring cord stock that is used for sealing up this surface. The skeg has the groove in it, so I'll get some of this unrolled here and then we'll move you over to the skeg and show you how that works. Try to forgive my workbench, it's quite a mess, but I make do. Alright, the first thing we want to do is kind of measure how much we need. So we'll lay it in the groove. Cut it right about there and try to leave us a little extra, and then we'll cut it to the right length. Alright, we'll lay this piece in here just past this edge. And it looks like we're even on this side and just slightly past on this side. So we should be good to go. When we push that together, it can push against the outside edge of the groove and it should seal up just fine like that. So we'll set that piece right there. We'll get our ultra black and lay a bead of it in this groove. And then we'll start laying the seal in. I like to tap it in with a screwdriver once I get it started. Wipe off the screwdriver and then take my finger and press this down, and the excess will just kind of cover the surface. Yeah, way more than I need over on this side. Try to cover all of the surface where the two halves come together, and then some of this I can just wipe off. I got much more than I need over here. And right here where the spaghetti seal comes out and where that O-ring on the bearing carrier mates up on this half, we'll lay a bead in there. Make sure you get plenty up right where that spaghetti seal comes out. That should do it. And guess what? I'm glad I thought of this, but I made a mistake. When I put the pinion gear in, I should have also put the shift rod in. You get one of these together and you don't have the shift rod in, then you got problems too. Ha! So, let's lift this back out. Just set it up here and try not to get any crap in the sealer. But this is pretty clean. I think I'm going to wire wheel that last little bit of carbon off of there so I don't mess up my O-ring. Anyway, sorry about that. I should have put this in when I put the pinion gear in at the same time. Usually I lubricate this thing with something. I got a thing of Vaseline out here that works pretty good. I've been using that for quite a while. And we just take this and put it through the hole, kind of push and turn, and it goes through that O-ring we put in there. Leave that up a little bit so you can get the gear set back in it. Alright, where's that slot? There it is. And there's that hole. Okay, now we're good. Shift rod's in place, bushings are down, we're locked in where we're supposed to be. Take our shift cradle, put that in the shift dog groove, just like that, and then put the little pins on the shift fork into the slots on the side of the shift cradle. One side wants to go in and the other one doesn't. Alright, there we got it. Try to get it somewhere in the middle around neutral range. That always makes the pivot screw easier to put in. Okay, so now we're ready to put the skeg on. We'll take the skeg out of the vise, flip it over, get it as close to aligned as you can, set it down on there, and then we get our pivot screw out of the bowl of screws that I got there. And then you got to look through this hole and see that you've got it aligned. That hole in the shift fork needs to be aligned so that pin can go through it. And sometimes you got to get in there with an awl or a pick or something and move that thing into position. Close now. There we go. There's an O-ring that this screw seats on. Sometimes you have to change those out. This one looks like it's in okay shapes yet, so I'm going to leave it alone. Okay, now that's together. We can start putting the screws back in. You need to put some sealer on the threads on these things too, or they'll leak oil around the screw threads. Oops. This stuff doesn't set up real quick, so you got a little working time with this. That's another thing I like about it. Wipe that goop off my fingers and we'll get a screwdriver and start tightening those up. First time we tighten them, we just want to, just so we start seeing some sealant come out, don't tighten it too tight. Then the second time through, I'll put some torque on them. That's not good. That screw twisted off on me. Well, I'm gonna have to go in and fix that one. That screw was damaged because I hadn't put any real torque on it yet. So, at any rate, assuming that one hadn't broken off, I'll have to go back and fix that. But you go and tighten these up. Like that. And then we go to work on the other side and replace the water pump. And as I mentioned earlier, when I took this thing apart, the old water pump housing was worn out and the wear plate was worn out. So I got a new water pump housing. I have a brand new wear plate. I have a new water tube grommet to go in here. And I have a new impeller somewhere. I may have to go get that out of the parts drawer yet. I don't think I brought it in with me. But anyway, we'll start with the grommet. A little Vaseline, lubricate the outside of it so it goes in and locks in the hole better. Push that in, push that in. Locked in place, good to go. Wear plate goes in with, there's a little crown in these, and the crown goes up. This little round whoop-de-doo here goes around the shift rod. and you just line the holes up. Of course, this will move around a little bit, but then we take the drive shaft, pass that down through there, and there, the spline's lined right up with the pinion gear. And then you got to take our little drive pin for the water pump impeller and put it back in the hole in the drive shaft, and then the impeller goes on this. Water pump housing goes over the impeller, and then we tighten it down. Does not look like I have an impeller in here, so I will have to get one. But for the sake of showing you how this works, I'll use the old one. Just put that over that, and then I usually lubricate these again with some Vaseline. This one already has some lube on it. Water pump housing goes over this. Kind of push down on the housing and turn the drive shaft. Turn the drive shaft clockwise, which is the way the engine rotates, and that'll turn all the vanes in the right direction. Then you take the new screw, or you take the screws, the water pump housing screws, put those back in. You pass through the wear plate too, so you got to make sure all those holes are lined up right. Which is sometimes easier said than done. And the problem is I don't have my wear plate lined up right yet. Okay. Tighten these up. Alright, and we take a little grease. Lubricate the splines at the top where it engages the crankshaft. That prevents that from rusting into the crankshaft. And then there's a groove for an O-ring. You have to replace that O-ring before you put it back up into the motor. So there we